Hey everyone, we are going to talk about finding the mean. So when we have statistical data, the mean it's the sum of all of our data divided by the number of values. So this might sound a little confusing in words, but when we look at an example, you will understand. So we often call the mean the average, right? So let's look at this first question. It says you scored 80, 70, 80, 85, and 95 on your tests. What is your mean test score? So if we want to know the average score that you received, we can find the mean. So in order to do that, we find the sum of all of our data. So that's all of these things added together. And then we divide it by the number of values we have. So in this case, you took 5 tests. So if we add 80 plus 70 plus 80 plus 85 plus 95 and divide that by 5, we will get your mean test score. So 80 plus 70 would be 150, plus 80 would be 230, plus 85 would be 315, plus 95 would be 410. So then if we take that and divide by 5, 5 goes into 41 8 times, and 5 goes into 10 2 times. So your average or mean test score was 82. So now we're going to look at something that we call an outlier. Now an outlier is a data value that is much greater or much less than the other values. So for example, if we were looking at all of these test scores here, and if you had a 20 on one of your tests, right, we can see that all of your other test scores are somewhere around 80. And so to have one test that's way, way lower than the others, that would be what we call an outlier. So let's look at this next example. The dot plot shows the heights of several Shetland ponies. Describe how the outlier affects the mean. Then use the data to answer the question, what is the height of a typical Shetland pony? So if we look at this dot plot here, we can see that this one height of a Shetland pony at 28 is an outlier, because we can see all the rest of our data is kind of clustered over here, and then way over to the left we have that outlier at 28. So we're going to go ahead and calculate our mean first with the outlier, and then calculate it without the outlier to compare and see how much the outlier actually affects our mean. So here we can see, right, this dot plot tells us we have one value at 28. We have 2 here at 37. So 2 ponies are 37 inches tall. 2 at 38. 1 at 39. 3 at 40. And 1 at 42. So we can calculate our mean again by adding all of these values together and then dividing by the number of values that we have. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ponies. So we're going to take all of these heights, add them together, and divide by 10. So when we add all of these together, we get 379. And if we divide 379 by 10, we would get 37.9. So our average height here for our Shetland ponies, when we include the outlier is 37.9. Now, if we were to calculate this without the outlier, we will get a different result. So this time, we won't include that 28. So we would take the 37, 37, 38, 38, 39, 40, 40, 40, 42, add all of those together, and then we would divide by 9 since we're only including 9 values here. So when we add all of those values together, we get 351, and we're going to be dividing that by 9. So 9 goes into 35 3 times, that's 27. 35 minus 27 is 8, and 9 goes into 81 9 times. So without our outlier, we get a mean of 39. So if we want to compare these two, right, we can see that when we include the outlier, it brings our mean or average height down by more than an inch. And we can actually see that, right, 37.9, if we were to look on our graph, that would be over here, meaning that only 3 of our 10 ponies are greater than, or sorry, only 3 are less than that mean. So the mean isn't really in the middle, right? Whereas if we look at our mean when we don't include the outlier, that gives us a mean of 39, right? And so we can see when we group it that way, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that are to the left of our mean, and 1, 2, 3, 4 points that are to the right of our mean, which seems to be doing a better job, right? It shows that's closer to what the average pony would be, right? Because it's showing more of our data points really close to the middle there. And so we would say that the height of a typical Shetland pony is probably closer to 39 than it is to 37.9, since we can ignore that outlier here.